All right, let's get the flow going. Let's feel the music. And for nothing else, we're going to talk about Uncle Jesse's favorite artist of all time. Look, the fact is, I can't think about Elvis without thinking about Stamos. And that's on Full House. Before we get started, I do want to thank the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is an all-in-one finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. Lower bills, monitor your credit score, and build your savings all in one place. You can set up budgets that automatically monitor your spending category, visualize your spend-to-earn ratio, and get notifications when you've exceeded that budget. Cancel unwanted subscriptions, because we've all been there. Sign up for a trial period, then you just kind of forget about it. Or you sign up for a streaming service because a show's gonna air on that streaming service. Again, you forget about it. Now you don't have to be a deer in headlights when you get a notification 10 months from now that you signed up for another year. Truebill just sniffed that out, and that is awesome. So click the link below, go to truebill.com/Johns, try it out for free and unlock more features with premium. Because look, when we think of fun, we don't think of adulting, but it is a responsible thing to do. I'm glad Truebill's here to help. And now we're not just gonna talk about a biopic. This isn't a common biopic, it's a cautionary tale. So let's talk about it. So Elvis is a new film. It's a biopic directed by Baz Luhrmann. It's funny because Baz Luhrmann films, for me, they can be hit and miss, you know? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I really like the angle, the energy, I like what he was going for, it landed with me. Other times, it kind of falls flat. Elvis is one of those films that the style and what Baz Luhrmann was going for in execution, it really clicked with me. First of all, the Baz Luhrmann style, the flair, you look at the title, you're like, yeah, Baz Luhrmann directed that all right. And if we take one scene in particular, you saw it in the trailer when Elvis just belts it out, you know, and he's moving. We've seen Elvis footage, and, you know, it's easy to see Elvis footage, like, all right, that was a big deal back in the day, I guess. But we're coming from our eyes now, you know that it's a big deal, but there's a difference between knowing and understanding. The energy that Baz Luhrmann brings to this movie and the scenes where Elvis is just moving and all the women are just going crazy in the audience. It's like Baz Luhrmann takes you to school in that way, you know, you can have two different teachers for the same subject and one teacher can tell you everything and it just doesn't land, and the other teacher just illustrates it to the class in a way where it just clicks. That's what Baz Luhrmann does with Elvis, with the energy he brings to the Elvis story. I thought it really worked, surprisingly. Now, Austin Butler plays Elvis Presley, and I was kind of concerned, not because Austin Butler, I thought he looked great when I saw the trailer. Elvis usually sounds like an Elvis impersonation in the way impersonations sound. It's kind of like my Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. It's not that Arnold doesn't sound like this, he kind of sounds like this, but this is more exaggerated in that Animaniacs kind of way. You get it, right? Like, so I was afraid I was going to hear an impersonation. Austin Butler sounds like Elvis Presley. He sells you on the fact that you're like, it's just his voice. Words out, scientific advancements, Austin Butler is an Elvis Presley clone. It's one of those roles where by the end, you see real footage of Elvis in the credits, you're like, oh, he looks different. You kind of forget what Elvis Presley really looks like because you have accepted his Elvis as Elvis. Very rarely does an actor actually hit that point with me. I thought he was really impressive. If his career doesn't explode after this movie, I've officially lost, well, a lot more faith in humanity than I already have. A couple things the movie does remarkably well is show you the human being behind the legend, you know? Like, the legend's still there. I mean, granted, it's a biopic. They're gonna dramatize something. It's gonna make shit up. Gonna bypass some of the other things that maybe they don't want to talk about. But I appreciated the fact that we were hanging out with this person, Elvis Presley, who didn't ever seem to feel as famous as his legend was to other people out there. He was just a guy who wanted to sing. Sometimes it does play against the film because you're like, how much time has gone by? Years will go by and it doesn't seem like years have gone by. There's a part of me that doesn't even want to touch on that in this video because that's biopic 101. A constant gripe I have, not even gripe, just something I address is that it seems like it goes by the years too fast. You know, like the passage of time isn't properly illustrated. It feels like maybe it's been a month, maybe it's been years, but you don't really know. All you know is Elvis went from, hey, I want to sing, to that's a big house. And it's just the way biopics generally are. Now, the angle that this movie came at, I thought was unique too, you know, because it's like, oh, it's a biopic about a famous person. That can be kind of cut and paste. But having Tom Hanks narrate at the beginning kind of sets the movie up to be seen through his character, Colonel Tom Parker's eyes. But it illustrates right out the gate that shady is just a word. And then there's this guy playing this character who's a real person who really saw himself as the hero of Elvis's story. He just, I don't know, thought it was birthright. Like, they're assholes in the world. They're out there. And that's where this movie lands with me. This is actually the core of the Elvis movie for me. It's a cautionary tale. Because while there is one Elvis Presley, it is easier than ever to become famous now in the information age that we live in. Which means it's easier than ever for these snakes, these scumbags, to find you famous people out there on TikTok, YouTube, whatever. Taking advantage of talented people on the rise has happened since entertainment started, and it's not gonna stop anytime soon. So I love that this movie uses Elvis's story to show that very relevant cautionary tale for today. And I felt this movie did a good job at doing what I like biopics to do, which is make a movie about a famous person, about a historical figure, about an artist, but you don't necessarily make it for people who are already fans. Elvis fans will have a different relationship with this movie than people who are not Elvis fans, but you don't have to be an Elvis fan to take away something from this movie. I mean, shoot, I went into this movie thinking, okay, it's gonna be Elvis, the king of rock and roll, Vegas. What can I say? I guess I only knew about the legend of Elvis. Didn't know too much about the darker business side of his life, and how it's ever more apparent that among famous people, you show me a rich and famous person, I'll probably show you someone who's drowning in their sea of sorrow and loneliness. Anyhow, I really dug this movie. I was like, dude, this is a 2-hour, 40-minute movie. Oh God, it's a biopic. Here's hoping. And what I ended up watching was a story that was remarkably engaging, remarkably human, and used Baz Luhrmann's energy to push the film forward at a pace I enjoyed. Hell yeah, it's worth watching. And I'll even buy this one on Blu-ray. All right, so Elvis, this review's a bit early. And that's a good sign too. When the screening happens over a week before the movie comes out and the embargo's already lifted, that's a good sign that the studio has faith that the movie's good. But in case you're watching this after you already watched the movie, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What's a biopic that you'd like to see? Maybe it's one that's already been made. Maybe you'd like it retold. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.